Hello everyone, welcome to ScorcherToys@anymoon.com's transformation guides for the Evolution Toys 160 scale VF-2SS. I'm going to be covering both the Sylvie original version and the later versions in this transformation guide. We're going to go from fighter mode to GERWALK and ultimately Battroid mode. To begin, if you got landing gear out, we're going to go ahead and stow those. We're not going to need them for GERWALK mode, obviously. So just bring the door closed, tuck it away. Now, these toys do have a variety of pegs meant to hold them together in fighter mode. We're obviously going to get rid of those pegs. Now, you can see here I've got one of my arm pegs. It isn't actually in the slot. It has come out, and that is pretty standard. On this side, it came out and it folded over, which is great for GERWALK mode and where we're going. You're going to just apply a little pressure forward if you need to at all, and that will free up the legs, like so. You can then collapse that arm peg. We're not going to need it. So there you go. Now we don't have those pegs out anymore. And we're just going to bring our arm over. And there's a slot right here in the shoulder. There's that peg that the leg was attached to just a moment ago. We're going to bring the shoulder over and place it on that peg. Same thing on the opposite side, obviously. Now, if you do have a Nex or Fairy Squad version, there's a little bit more to it, so let's take a look. So as you can tell by the blue stripe, this is a Nex version. There are a couple little differences that you need to be aware of as you do transformation. First, these metal swing bars have the ability to move backwards now, which pegs the intakes a little more firmly into place. So it's going to take a little bit more pressure to remove them. Also, you can see the pegs are actually attached on the arms. So you actually have to go through all the steps on this one. So we're going to just apply a little pressure inward to free up the legs. There's also a new peg, which you can kind of see inside there. So as we pull forward and get this leg off of its peg, this peg was also attached into this slot, which is new on the Nex and Fairy Squad versions. Once we have that peg freed, you want to rotate it back inside the craft so that when you bring your shoulder free, it's not going to conflict with anything. And the shoulder now actually locks into position as well because it's got this little hook right here. So you're going to fold it out. It still will fold pretty similarly. It now should also kind of lock into this peg, so it'll take a little bit more pressure to push down. But when it gets there, it should do a better job of staying there. And then obviously, we still have this peg on the arm that we're going to collapse, and we're just going to repeat on the other side. We're going to continue on with next, and the next step is the same for either version, except these pegs on the inside that we folded in, we're going to go ahead and fold them so they're straight out down like the shoulders now that they're out of the way. That will also keep them out of the way of the legs when we get there. While we're staring at them, we can also just go ahead and pop open these pegs here. We're going to latch the legs to them later, but for the moment, we're going to flip the toy over and we're going to focus on the backpack, which we're just going to rock upward on that hinge and bring it all the way over. Once it is over, we're going to make sure that this flap is down. We're going to lift up on this back piece and fold the whole thing down, flipping the toy back over again. We're going to get these little pegs here, and we're going to rotate them out towards the back of the craft. There we go. Just like that. Alright, now we're going to complete the backpack, flipping the toy back over. We're going to rotate the vertical stabilizer down, which on the Nex and Fairy versions almost always means the vertical stabilizer falling off. Now I did just lose a screw cover, and again, this is why I recommend you not even use these screw covers, because they come off very frequently and easily. I'm going to finish the transformation without that screw cover on there. You just fold this piece over, and with those screw covers it's actually a little bit tougher because they add some thickness, and the clearance to that rolling over is very tight. Once you've got them over, you can kind of lay them flat up against the back of the craft like so. Your toy should look like this now, and what we're going to do is just get the leg into the traditional GERWALK position. So we do have an extension gimmick. I'm going to pull out there. There is, of course, the GERWALK joint, which is very stiff. And then moving down, we have an ankle. We're going to pull out, get it all the way out, and just open it up. And go ahead and bring the knee forward, and then repeat on the other side. Alright, now we've got the legs in GERWALK position. We've got our pegs out near the head. The head lasers are tucked in right up against and flat with that area right in front of them. And we're just going to bring these swing bars back into approximately the right position. Now there is a peg and a slot on the metal swing bars, and as we bring them together, we're going to try to get those to just be touching. Don't worry about like really pushing them together or anything, because locking the intakes onto those pegs that we've pulled out here is going to do the vast majority of the work for us. So there's that slot underneath. We're going to get that into the peg, and that will lock the leg into position here. And ugh. It is a tight fit, as you would hope it would be. There it goes. And then the same thing on the other side. And again, by doing this, you want to make sure you're not trapping your head laser. So I'm going to get my finger in there and push it in the side. By doing this, you're going to create that pressure that also tabs together those swing bars. So let's get that into position. Boom. Alright, so I had to push it back a little bit so it would fall right in. And there you go. Now those are locked into position. Hopefully we can bring that fin back up like so. And we are ready now to focus on the wings and the arms. Now, we could also make this thing stand. We can bring our wings out, and then they actually have a little angle up pivot. So just, you can do it as much as you want right now to get them out of the way. You're going to bring your arms out and forward. Now the shoulders also have an up pivot. You're going to want to use those. We can bring the arms out and around. We want to open up the arm and swing out the fist. And we'll just repeat that step on the other side. Now, closing things might be a little more problematic, but you should just be able to close that door like that. Okay, so we're in GERWALK mode now. We've got the fists out. Close up that arm. It might look really funky at the moment, so let's do some fine tuning. Again, we get the shoulders we can bring up. We can bring these wings so they're basically right on top of those shoulders. And we can splay the legs out to get a nice aggressive stance. But what we can also do is adjust these feet, because they are actually on a joint as well. So you can bring those back like you would on a normal GERWALK mode toy, normal VF1 or something like that. Bring those back. You can bring these things forward, but I think that's just for Battroid mode. And there you go. Now you have it standing in GERWALK mode. You might need to adjust your vertical stabilizers a little bit, but otherwise everything should be pretty solid. You're getting a bit of a wide stance, not from a twist at the knees, but because you can pivot at these little joints at the intakes. And there you go. You are now in GERWALK mode. Alright, a couple things to watch out for as you handle the toy in GERWALK mode. There's that fin underneath that moves every time you touch it, and also the arms that fall off the pegs. Supposed to be a little better with Nex and Fairy, but again, doesn't really work out that way. So those are a couple things to watch out for. When you're ready to transform the toy, we're going to go ahead and start with the legs. You're going to want to unpeg them from that peg that we attached here. Now I did that by just rocking left and right, and it came out pretty easily. The leg is just going to swing forward. Now if you have a Nex or Fairy variant, there is this ability to slide the base, the connector of the peg, forward or back. So it's back in Fighter GERWALK mode. We're going to bring it forward now by twisting it sideways so the hinge isn't working against us. And then we're just going to apply pressure forward. And it's a little scary because the toy does not feel sturdy, but it will click in the out position like so. Then we have our leg. It's in a GERWALK position. We're going to go ahead and close it up and collapse that extension and bring the foot all the way out and bring this piece forward as well. Now that piece is not, it doesn't lock into position, so that's another thing we'll have to monitor it as we handle the toy. Now go ahead and repeat that with the other leg. Alright, so here is my Sylvie version again. I just wanted to point out that there is no pushing down of these swing bars for Sylvie. She didn't have that feature yet, so the bars just come down and they're in position. Now you want to take your arms at this point and swivel them back, because that's the position they'll be in Battroid mode. Now in doing that, you'll hear that things just kind of pegged free from me. You can see there are these pegs here that I've separated from the back, which is a good thing. There's also pegs up here. We're going to want to bring those forward now. Just get them forward. We're going to fine tune them in a little bit. But now we can flip the toy over and do a little wiggle jiggle, and it obviously fairly easily will pop open like so, which lets us go back underneath the toy and slide the head forward. So hopefully you can see it moving there. And then we can just pull up a little bit, and that frees the entire head mechanism. And the head itself is on the swing door on the back there. So it can just kind of come through as we rotate the back over. Also, that whole plate comes up, so use that to your advantage. And then you're going to bring the toy, bring the chest all the way down. So you can see there's no more canopy showing there. And then bring your back up. And you're not going to worry about locking anything into position just yet. But this should be approximately where you are at. Your toy should look something like this now. And the next step of transformation is by far the most critical. It's kind of what holds everything together. From the bottom of the toy, we have these metal swing bars that the legs are attached to. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to push them together. No big deal there. We also have this clip up at the top that can easily go around lower on the bars, but it can't fit up if you just went up on top. See, it runs right into those metal bars. So what we need to accomplish is to get the plastic clip down below where it does fit, and then slide everything upward to really pinch it into position, or alternatively just risk pushing down on it as hard as humanly possible, but that doesn't look like it would work very well. Now up on the other end, we want to get everything flush, and we have pegs on either shoulder. There's a peg there that goes into a slot right at the top. And so as long as that all slots in, you'll know you've got everything in the right position. So it's nice. It pinches the pegs together. Ooh, don't do that. All right, so here we go. So this is the position you want the chest in. So that's flush. That's flush. That's where things need to get, and if you got there, that's going to make the head sit down nice and pretty like. But you need to get this clip on. And you can see there's these pegs on the side that go into these slots when you've got everything successfully done. So I'm going to go ahead and try and do it. I'm going to push my legs together. I'm going to bring the back over. I am going to get it where it looks like it needs to be. And then I am going to push upward, and I missed. So let's try doing it down here. Now it looks like I'm pretty successful right now, but the pegs are definitely not in the right spot, so not there yet. It's hard to say what would be the best strategy here. But let's try. Alright, well it looks like this is going to be a fight. So this is the least fun part of transformation, like I said. And I wish I knew some easy way to tell you to do it, but there it goes. I got it into place. Hopefully some of that made it onto camera. And then there are the pegs on either side. which I will now line up and just apply a little bit of pressure, hopefully, to get them into their homes. Okay. So there we go. Easy peasy, right? Everything is now connected. Everything's nice and tight back here. Everything is pegged in. And we can continue on with our lives. Alright, now you're ready to get the head into position. It might be up, it might be down. If it is up, well, let's go ahead and take a closer look at what's going on here. There's a little peg on either side here. And there's a little detent on either side of this little neck platform. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this back down, kind of slide it forward, and you want to make sure you get underneath both detents, or both pegs on either side. And otherwise your head will be sitting up too high on one side. There it goes. Alright, so now I've got it pegged down on either side, and it's pegged down in the front. And now it's rock solid. So if your head moves around, or that plate moves around at all, you're not pegged in on either this side, or the front. So check that out. Once you are, of course, you can turn the head around and pull up on it a little bit. And you should get a little bit of motion. There we go. Point the lasers back if you want. There you go. Your head is now ready to roll. Your backpack will look approximately like this. It might be kind of mangled from handling it, but either way, you're going to start by pulling the dorsal boosters out and flipping the vertical stabilizer out to the other side. Now I've removed my little screw cover here. Again, you should remove those. If you've got a Nex or a Fairy Squad version, remove the screw covers and the little clear circle washer that's behind them. And then once you've removed the washer, you could just use the screw on top to tighten that in. It'll make your life a whole lot easier during transformation. Anyways, we can now lift this up. We can pull out these pegs here. You might actually need to get like a toothpick to poke it out from the inside if it's a stiffer one. That's what I had to do with my Nex version. Now we're going to bring those dorsal boosters back down and do that on both sides. It's a little tricky with that screw cover on there. There you go. I've had another one pop off. We're going to bring those vertical stabilizers down, and they can kind of come out a little bit. We're going to go ahead and bring everything upward. We're going to bring this down, and you should see that the slot in the dorsal booster aligns with the peg, and then you're just going to want to get that pegged in there. And really this is more just so you know you got it in the right spot. It doesn't slide that freely where you need to do this, but I'm going to just poke that down. There we go. So there you go. So that tells you now it's in the right spot, and it shouldn't slide down just with gravity, although it wouldn't have done that on its own. So go ahead and repeat with this peg on that side. Okay, things should be starting to come together for you. You're just going to go ahead and get those wings nice and flat and fold them down and close up any doors that shouldn't be open. Get your shoulders angled if you want, and there you go. You have achieved Battroid mode. It should be locked together pretty well, fine-tuning wise. Not a ton of adjustments that you should have to make. Now obviously, if you're going to pose this toy at all, the first thing you're probably going to do is extend that knee joint, because there's very limited articulation otherwise. So I would say having that leg joint extended, not necessarily a mistransformation, more just a need for action. And there you go. Hopefully you found this pretty helpful. Visit anymoon.com for my full review, and as always, thanks for watching.